TGIF, and thank you for joining me today on today's installment of Fridays with Flora. And today we're going to be dealing with tomatoes, because if you're like me, you are inundated with tomatoes and you're happy about it. I'm happy about it too. I don't like winter tomatoes. I love enjoying my garden tomatoes in August and September, and we do have some early ones even in July. But right now we're really getting inundated with tomatoes, and I'm sure you are too. And so I'm going to show you today how to make a very simple tomato basil sauce with a little bit of red wine. And it's a very easy recipe because there's a modern day shortcut. It's a recipe that's been handed down a few generations, but we're going to be using a food processor to kind of grind up and make the puree and then strain it, which is a little bit of a modern day twist to an old recipe. So don't tell my mom. She'll probably see this on YouTube and then she'll find out. But until then, keep it a secret between you and me. So join me in the kitchen today while we deal with garden fresh tomatoes. All right, first things first, you need tomatoes. This is about 6.5 pounds. You really want at least 5 pounds for a decent amount of sauce. And you're looking for nice ripe tomatoes. We've got some heirloom orangey yellow ones. I'm forgetting the name of this one, but it's super, super sweet. I'm throwing a couple of those in just to sweeten the sauce up. These are actually from seeds from Italy, from my dad's town. They make a really great, sweet, punchy sauce. Also, I've got some plum tomatoes in here. So 6 pounds, and what you're gonna do, and why I'm going with 6, because ideally I want 5, is because once you start trimming the tops and whatever else, like if there's some blemishes, you cut that out, you'll end up eventually with 5. So you're gonna roughly chop your tomatoes. Okay, look at these beauties. Aren't they lovely? And they're just really roughly halved and quartered as needed, just to make it easier on the food processors. So what we're gonna do is we're pureeing this. So we've got our food processor, and we're also going to put a fine mesh sieve inside a bowl. You're gonna process your tomatoes and then pour them in here. The seeds and the skins will end up in here, and all that wonderful juice and pulp will go into the bowl. So have this nearby as you process the tomatoes. You're just going to use your blade and you're going to work in batches. Now, the old way of doing this is an old vegetable mill. It has like a hand crank, and I still have that and use that sometimes. But this is going to be a lot easier. So you're going to pulse. Oh my gosh, already this tomatoes just smell phenomenal. So this is just a quicker way, less labor intensive, really. And to work it through, what I do is grab a spoon. And shake it. You can see here as you get to the end, you really are kind of mashing it through the sieve. so that really all you end up with are skins and seeds. So yeah, it's still a little bit labor intensive, but still not as much elbow grease as the vegetable mill. All right. So you still got some really good stuff on the bottom there. Use your spoon to scrape that. Look at that. Delish. So keep going till all your tomatoes are processed, and then we'll move on to the stove. All right, with your tomatoes all strained, you head over to the stovetop and get a nice heavy bottom saucepan. Put your heat on medium-high, and first things first, you need a good quality extra virgin olive oil, and you need about a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup, so it's a good base for the sauce. Get that nice and hot. Nice and hot. First things first, you're going to put in a chopped medium white onion. Now, depending on how you like your onion, you can do a thicker chop or a smaller chop. I want the onion to melt in a little bit because my kiddo doesn't like onions. So, cook up your onion until things begin to sweat a little bit. Alright, once you see that the onions are starting to soften up a little bit, you're going to add 3 cloves of finely minced garlic. What's a tomato sauce without garlic, huh? Incorporate that in. It's smelling good. Now, continue cooking till things are nice and soft and the garlic has softened up a little bit. Regulate your heat. I'm going to lower it just a touch because I don't want things to burn. Garlic browns pretty quickly, so you got to keep an eye on it. Now you see where some of the garlic is starting to turn brown. This is where you want to add, it's just starting. I don't know if you can see some of the edges. This is where you want to add your tomatoes. So grab your tomatoes. Oh boy. Now, you worked hard for those tomatoes, so make sure you get every last golden drop. Give it a good mix. Now we're gonna have some fun. We need some vino. Italians like to drink it, we like to cook with it. So we're looking for about 1.5 cups of a nice dry red wine. Make sure to leave a little bit for yourself. What's Italian cooking without sipping some red wine? Give that a good stir. Now we're going to do some seasoning. A little bit of salt. I'm going to eyeball this to be about a teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon. You can always adjust. Some fresh ground pepper. And then hop into your garden if you have fresh basil and fresh parsley. And I did a rough chop. I had about like 5 or 6 nice big basil leaves and 5 to 6 parsley sprigs. Rough chop. Put that all in there. Stir that in. Now I've got the heat still on a medium high because I want to get this to a little bit of a boil to get things moving. And then finally, this is my Aunt Marie's secret. Not that your garden tomatoes need a lot of it, but a little bit of sugar. Just a dash. Not too much. Now you're going to kick the heat up a little bit and get it to a boil. Now this is a really basic sauce, and you can use it on pasta. You can use it in lots and lots of recipes. I'm going to make some eggplant meatballs later, and it calls for a few tablespoons of a basic tomato sauce in the batter, so I'll be using this. You can make a light eggplant parm with this if you want. So it keeps in the fridge for about a week, so you can have it on hand, and you need a last minute dinner, just toss it with some pasta, you're good to go. Toss it with some meatballs from the freezer, you're good to go. Alright, so this, you can see, is boiling. Give it a stir. And now you're gonna bring your heat down much lower because it's going to simmer. You want a little bit of movement on the top. And you're going to set your timer for 25 minutes. 25-30 minutes should cook down the sauce nicely. See, you get a few bubbles up there. That's what you're looking for. Nothing too aggressive. You're going to cook off the wine. Everything's going to meld together nicely. So we'll check on it in about a half hour. Alright, so it's been about 30 minutes, and you can see from where we started, see that line right here where the liquid was? It's definitely cooked down to about a quarter. I think I want to go a little bit more. I'm going to give it another 10 minutes. I just want to make sure that that wine has been cooked out. And it's a loose sauce, but it's still, for me, a little too loose. And you just have to kind of get a sense of your tomatoes. Garden tomatoes are going to have a lot of water. If you're going to use, you know, tomatoes from the store, you might have less water, so you might not have to cook out, you know, the liquid so much. So, you know, at this point, I think I'm going to set the timer for another 10. And you can see, too, I kind of kicked up the heat a little bit to get more of a rigorous simmer. So we'll check it in a little bit. All right, the extra 10 minutes was worthwhile. As you can see, you know, there's some tension to the sauce when I stir with the spoon. It's definitely thickened up. If you want it to go thicker, I mean, this isn't really the kind of sauce to do that with, but you can certainly go a little bit longer if you'd like. This is more of like what my mother would call like a salsa semplice. It's just a simple sauce, so it is a little looser. But her sauce doesn't have the wine in it, and it's not as pureed. It's definitely more like chunky with the tomatoes, which I could show you that sauce another time. Okay, so I'm gonna let this, I turned it off. I'm just gonna let it cool down. And then once it's cooled and kind of melded together, I'm gonna adjust the seasonings from there, give it a taste, see if it needs a little bit more salt. So we'll check on it in a bit. Sauce worked out great. I actually made some eggplant meatballs. I got orecchiette boiling. And I'm going to move over here. You can see I reheated the sauce after it cooled down a little bit. So I'm going to serve it with the orecchiette. you can, oh, the steam is right over here. So the sauce you can actually store in the fridge for a week, or you can freeze it, or you can jar it. So it's super versatile. Anyway, salsa semplice, basilico, ready to go. We are going to sit down and eat in T-minus. Oh, that's my timer. I gotta go drain my orecchiette. I hope you too have a really good abundant tomato harvest this year, and you can make some salsina too. See you next Friday. Bye.